Hi everybody, I'm trying something a bit different. I have talked about it endlessly on the show, but I am finally here in Italy, just arrived today. I thought I would give you a bit of a flavour of my trip, as it's going to be a little bit film connected. I've already been out shopping where there's a load of second-hand stuff, books and old film posters and things, loads of cool posters just by the train station in Rome. And I bought a Italian giallo style poster for a German crimi film, so that ticks 2 boxes, which is fun. But anyway, so I'm walking down the Via Ezio and I'm making my way towards that Mecca for cult movie fans. It's the place that you have to go to. It's a pilgrimage every time you come to Rome, and that is of course Profondo Rosso. Now, I don't know if Luigi Cozzi is going to be there, but I've brought a few things just in case. But even if he isn't there, it's a cool place to go. And of course there is the Dario Argento Museum in the basement, so I'm looking forward to popping in there. So let's go and see if we can find the maestro Luigi Cozzi. Okay, I'm now in the dark basement of Profondo Rosso, and I just bought a couple of things, and I asked at the till, "Oh, is Luigi going to be here today?" She said, "Oh, he's going to be here at 6 o'clock." And then we turned round, and there he was. So he's quite busy, and there's lots of people in the shop, but he did sign a book for me. He also took a picture, so I will post that on our Twitter. So I'm now down in the basement. I'm looking through a window, and there is an alien autopsy. And there are some posters of Luigi's films. There's a couple of Star Crash lobby cards. There's a big poster of Dylan Dog. I can see some pictures for La Portiera Nuda, or The Nude Porter, which was one of Luigi's sex comedies, which I'm hoping to do on the podcast at some point. I can see also Hercules in here. There's a Star Crash. It looks like a newspaper ad for Star Crash. Now, when I came down here last time, there was a voiceover, and also there were lights, but this time I'm in here in the dark. Whoa. And I've just gone down a big step. So there's no voiceover this time, so I'm just looking. So here we are with Demons, Demoni, and there's one of the puppet evil demon ladies from Demons, and some posters from Demons and Demons 2. There's a poster for Argento's Le Cinque Giornate, The 5 Days, which was his kind of unsuccessful period comedy that nobody ever talks about, and I must admit I've never seen it. There's also like a puppet of the weird kid from Phenomena. This place is so random. But the good thing is it's in the basement. It's like an old wine cellar, so it's really cool, but it's so dark. Oh, something's happening. So this looks like the Demons cinema, maybe, or the theatre. I don't really know. There's a giant hippo head. No, rhino head. I don't know what film that's from. This is also random. But what's really cool is I can see one of the robot marionettes from Star Crash. The actual stop-motion robots that fight with lightsabers. Ooh. It's all kicking off in here now. I can see dead bodies crushed by fallen masonry.
Dario Argento's Museum of Horrors. Here you'll find some original props from his famous terrifying movies. Come down with us in the deep. Don't be afraid.
Okay, don't be afraid. So I think actually what I'm looking at here is a scene from opera. It's like the opera house, and then there's a guy being attacked by a crow. Alright, I'm going to switch you off now, and I'll fill you in a bit more when I get down the other end. So I'm down into the last section now of the museum, standing in front of the upper torso of a woman hanging from a wall. And I'm looking at a scene from the church. I've taken some pictures. There's also, I think it's a reproduction, I doubt it's the original, but a painting from Deep Red on the wall here. So it's a Dario Argento museum with a difference. The difference being that it's not really a museum. There's the classic scream Great Expectations, and also loads of sound effects records. It's really dark down here. It's more like a sort of fun house, to walk through, like one of those haunted mansion type things. But it's pretty cool to be down there, and Luigi's just upstairs. He signed a book. I bought a book about Luigi's films that he signed for me. Unfortunately, they are out of the Blu-ray of Occhiali Neri, which I was planning to buy while I was here. They said they're getting more in tomorrow, so I've got to come back, which is no great hardship, I guess, except that it's so hot. I don't know if I mentioned that, that any extra effort to go anywhere is pretty heavy going. Anyway, I've taken loads of pictures, so maybe some of you who know Argento's films better than me can tell me where the rhino fits in. Incidentally, I'm sure there's a fire somewhere, like the air has got smoke in it. It looks smoky, and as I was walking along before talking to you the first time, there was ash floating down around me. Somewhere here, I mean, it could have just been a person walking down the street and just burst into flames. It is that hot here. I don't know if I've mentioned that. Anyway, so that was cool. So I've met Luigi again. I have been here before and met him. But it took a few goes. I first came here in 2014 and I didn't look at the opening times, and it turned out that they're closed in the middle of the day, which is very sensible because it's so freaking hot. So I came when it was closed. So a year later I came back again and it was open, but Luigi wasn't around. So then I came back again in 2019, and that was when I finally met Luigi, and he signed a bunch of Star Crash stuff for me. So there we go. So 4th visit to Profondo Rosso, and it seems like I've got to go back later. Although I am going to try some other shops. There's more ash. There's ash floating down from the sky. It's so weird. So I'm in Rome for a film conference, which starts tomorrow, and I might try and record a bit of that for you as well. So yeah, ciao for now. And buongiorno from Rome. This is day 2, and I'm just walking to the university, La Sapienza Università di Roma. Back in 1968 there was a big student protest at La Sapienza, which is part of that whole wave of student uprisings that swept across swept across Europe, I should say. And it turned into a big battle with the police. All very exciting. But I'm pretty sure today will be much safer, unless my presentation, which does contain nipples, causes some kind of outrage in the audience. I'll be prepared for that anyway. So I'll try and put in some audio if I can from this. Not the whole thing, you don't want to hear the whole thing, but I'll stick some of it in anyway. I've just realised that I've walked this way before, so I'm just walking towards the university, and this road was looking very familiar, and that's because a couple of years ago, well, pre-pandemic, I came down here because at the end of this long road is Rome's big municipal cemetery, which is full of these massive tombs, basically, a lot of above ground tombs as well as regular graves, and you can go, and there's a map, and you can go and find celebrity graves. So I went there and I found Vittorio De Sica and Marcello Mastroianni and Aldo Lardo, the great comedy actor. I think there might have been a couple of others. Those are the main ones I remember anyway. There's quite a few. There was a couple I think I looked for but didn't find. But anyway, I don't think I'm going to go there today. It's too hot to contemplate walking around a cemetery. But anyway, if you're ever in Rome and you want to go and see where there's some famous people buried, that's where to go. So 9 cuts were required to Emanuele for an X certificate when it was submitted to the BBFC in the summer of 1974, which included some subtitled dialogue, as well as specific imagery of masturbation, 2 references to lesbian lovemaking, a nightclub girl smoking a cigarette through her vagina, and reductions to the rape scene in the boxing club. I've got some images here for you in case you need any of that in your head. The latter scene in particular, this one here, would become a source of trouble 5 years later when the film was reviewed by the BBFC and the rape scene had to be removed completely owing to an application of the deprave and corrupt test under the 1959 Obscene Publications Act. I've just ridden across Rome on an e-scooter through Italian traffic. That was quite exciting. In my head, I was on a motorbike chasing bad guys like in a poliziesque film. But in reality, I think I was going about 5 miles an hour. I've just been to a shop called Hollywood Tutto sul Cinema, which is packed full of DVDs. No Blu-rays, which seems odd. But anyway, like thousands of DVDs and film posters. I've just rummaged through loads of posters and bought a couple that are just going to go in a tube at home until one day I figure out how to display these things without necessarily putting them all in frames, because that doesn't always go down well with the rest of my family. But I found a poster for The Luminoid, that great Barbara Bach and Richard Keel Star Wars knockoff. So quite pleased to take home an original Italian poster for that. I also picked up, they had one for Occhiali Neri, Argento's new film. Now normally Argento posters, like original old ones, go for big money. So I figured if nothing else, I could buy it quite cheap now because it's new, and then maybe, my children can inherit it and sell it. I've just actually recognised where I am. So in the Campo de Fiori, which is a big square with loads of pubs and cafes and all that. And I realised I've been here 3 years ago when I met with a film producer guy called Nicholas Rispoli, and we talked about his father's work as a producer. And I've got a whole blog post on that, which you can find on my Bloggeriti blog, because the last project that Antonio Margheriti worked on was as second unit director on a Genghis Khan film that was never finished. And Nicholas Rispoli holds all the footage, basically. It was a big epic film, thousands of extras, battles in the desert, Charlton Heston. It was a really big deal. Mr. Miyagi from Karate Kid was in it. And then for various different reasons it never got finished, and it still isn't finished, which is a real shame. So I did a blog post about that when I talked to him, so you can find that on my blog. I'll tweet the link when I post this episode if you're interested. Well, it's another hot day in Rome, and I've just climbed the Spanish Steps, and I'm now walking along quite a noisy street. I'm looking for a building called the Palazzo Capede, which was it's quite a unique looking frontage, and it was used in Inferno, Argento's Inferno. I believe it's the building where there's like a library and she goes and finds weird stuff. I don't know, the plot doesn't really make sense in that film, but she gets chased out of the building. So not the building where she's staying or where there's a flood and a fire, I don't think. I think it's the one that's like an occult library or something. Anyway, I'll let you know when I get there. The Palazzo Capede is weird. I can't find it. I've stood right where it says it is on Google Maps and on City Mapper. I've just done a complete walk around the block to see if there's a way in, but it's like there's a pin saying it's right there, but can I see it? No, which is annoying. So I gave up on Palazzo Capede. I think, like, I've googled it and it seems to actually be in a completely different part of Rome, which is weird because on the Google Maps it says it's there, but it's not there, unless there's two places. But there's a district called Capede, so I'm going to go and find that probably tomorrow. So instead I went to find the Trevi Fountain, and if I was good I would have recorded some audio of the water, but it was so hot and there were so many people around, I just took some pictures and left. But I'm now at the Pantheon, which is a big Roman concrete dome that's now a church, so I better turn off and be quiet. What's cool about the Pantheon is that it's still standing, considering it's 2,000 years old, and I believe it's still the biggest unsupported concrete dome in the world. And there's a hole in the middle which lets the light in, but it also lets the rain in, which doesn't really matter because there's just a marble floor. No rain today though, which in some ways would be quite nice. I don't know if I've mentioned this yet, but it's pretty hot here. Cool in here though, but I've got to go outside again in a minute. And I'm going to head back to the conference because I'm actually skiving a session to come and do some sightseeing. We've had sessions this morning on Turkish cinema, Mexican cinema. It's all been very interesting. But anyway, I better go and figure out how to get back. Alright, so I came back to Profondo Rosso, and as promised, Luigi did have Blu-ray copies of Occhiali Neri, so I bought one. And he was in. The shop is empty. Like I don't understand why it isn't just full of people desperate to talk to him about the Black Cat all the time. He had a big pile of the new Italian release of Black Cat called De Profundis, which looks very nice, but I can't really afford to buy it again when I've already got the Severin one. I gave him my card and I asked him whether, I told him we're planning a Luigi Cozzi season, which now we have to do. I've talked about it, but now we will have to do it. But he said he would happily talk to us on the podcast on Zoom. So that's cool, isn't it? So keep your ears peeled and your eyes on the podcast feed. At some point we will have an episode where we talk to Luigi Cozzi, which would be amazing. So it's later the same evening and I've got lost a couple of times, followed the directions wrong on my phone and walked so much further than I needed to. I'm totally knackered, if I'm honest. You can probably tell from my voice. But I've got one last place to try and visit this evening, and it's a bit of a long shot and it may turn out to be a waste of time. So a while ago we did the film Escape from Galaxy 3, aka Star Crash 2. We've also done What Have They Done to Your Daughters. Both of those films featured an actress called Cheryl Lee Buchanan, who's American but had a good career in Italy in the 70s. And Escape from Galaxy 3, she's the star of the movie. Belle Star, is she? Stella Star, something like that. I'm getting it mixed up with Star Crash. Anyway, I was trying to find out if she was still alive, where was she, you know, because that's the kind of thing I like to do. And I managed to track down a couple of addresses for her, one in America, in Florida I think it was, but not there, but they also had an address in Italy and here in Rome. So I thought, what the hell, while I'm here I'll just go and knock on her door and see what happens. So that's what I'm about to do. So I've just found her street and now I've got to try and find her house. It's a kind of residential area of Rome, not particularly attractive, but anyway, so let's see what happens. Okay, I found her address and there is actually a buzzer that says Buchanan, so here goes. Nothing so far. I'll press it again. It's 8 o'clock in the evening. Maybe that's too late. I mean, I've spent like an hour getting my directions wrong coming here, so a bit disappointing if there's no answer. But the fact that there's a Buchanan on the buzzer here means she must definitely be here at least some of the year. Maybe she alternates between Florida and here, so I could always write a letter. One more buzz. It's quite a nice block of apartments actually. Oh, it's so tempting to think I'll come back again tomorrow, but I really don't have time. Plus it's quite far from where I am the rest of the time. But oh well. So slightly wasted trip, but at least I've been able to confirm that She does live here some of the time. Buongiorno. It's the next morning. Didn't sleep very well last night. I don't know if it's because my legs were too tired, or whether it's the noise of the fridge in my room, or that it's hot, or what, I don't know. But anyway, I've come out early. It's about 7:30. I've come to the Capede district, which is in a completely different place to where I was looking yesterday for the Palazzo Capede. I found a building that I'm pretty sure is in an Argento film, but it's covered in scaffolding. I'm pretty sure it was in Inferno, but it's not the one that I thought I was looking for, which I think I've now found. Yeah, here it is. I've come to a place where there is a fountain known as the Fountain of the Frog, which sounds like the name of a crimi, or maybe even a giallo. Here we go. Yes, this is the building. I found it. This is the one from Inferno. I'll take some pictures. Oh good, that wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. There's some cool buildings around here actually. This whole sort of area around the fountain has got some very distinct... Wow, this building opposite the one from Inferno is really cool. It's got lions on the front, and then there's a sort of spider's web on the building on the front. It's this could definitely have been in a film, even if it wasn't. Right, I'll take some pictures. So the conference is nearly over, and they're taking us on a walking tour. The university here, Sapienza University, they've created this kind of map of all the cinemas in Rome, like ones that still exist and ones that don't. So they've created this map, and for each cinema they've done a podcast, and so they're taking us on a tour to look at them all. And I just wanted to mention this one called the Apollo that we're just standing outside now, which is quite close to the train station, and it's all boarded up now. It's been closed for 20 years and it's really shabby looking, but back in the day it was a second run cinema that would show all the kind of stuff that we like. They mentioned Thomas Milian, so they were like Poliziotteschi films, spaghetti westerns, giallo, all that stuff. But then in the 80s, as the audiences started to die off, they became a porn cinema called the Pussycat, which is hilarious because they're directly over the road from a big church. So it's quite a funny juxtaposition. But anyway, that eventually went bust as well, and it's been closed for 20 years. I took a picture. I'll post that on the Twitter as well. We've got one more to go. So I left Rome at about 2:30 today. I've been on a train all day now, and I'm just coming in to... I'm being about 5-10 minutes away from Turin. So we are moving a couple of 100 miles or so. I don't know how far it is actually. Probably more than that. North. I can see the Alps out of the train window. And the weekend leg of my trip begins, and the conference is finished, and I can just enjoy the next couple of days before I go home on Sunday night, exploring Turin and primarily looking at things to do with Argento. So I'll keep you updated as I see some of that cool stuff, and see if I can give you any recommendations for when you come, which I'm sure some of you will. So I'm walking to find the Piazza CLN. Hey, and there it is. This is the famous piazza from Deep Red, where there are two statues to the rivers, and it is of course the one to the River Po, which is a man reclining, that we've seen in Deep Red. On the other side of the piazza is a woman reclining, leaning the other way. I'm not sure which river she is about. I could find out, I suppose. But yeah, this is Piazza CLN. I can see where the diner was built, that fake diner built around the pillars. I can see the statue where David Hemmings hangs out with his drunk friend. I'll take some pictures, obviously. Also looking to see if I can see the window where the psychic lady gets killed. Is she Czech or is she German? I think they call her Czech at one point, and then another point they call her German. I think they are. Okay, I think this is it here. Yeah, because he's sitting there where there's currently some young people sitting, enjoying the water next to them. And then he runs around the corner and he looks up and he sees the woman being pushed through the window, and he runs through the door. So I'm now standing right where that all happens, basically. And I think we're also right next to the square that I talked about in the Savage 3 episode, so I might be able to kill two birds with one stone tonight, which would be nice. I'm sitting a bit closer now so you can hear the water. It's quite loud, actually. I mean, if they had have been recording live sound, which they weren't, it would have all been drowned out by this anyway. But yeah, so this fountain is directly opposite the diner thing. Or was it on the opposite corner? Oh, I'm trying to picture it now, I can't remember. I think it was directly opposite. It's smaller than it looks in the movie, this square. Anyway, it was around these pillars, either the ones opposite or the ones on the corner. It doesn't really matter. But anyway, it's quite a new looking square, like sort of fascist era, I guess. Like 30s maybe. Oh, in case you're wondering, it stands for the Piazza Comitato Liberazione Nazionale, I think, something like that. Apologies for my pronunciation. So I'm in Via Roma, which is a big piazza with two churches next to each other. It's directly behind the other one I was just at. There's somebody singing, as you can hear. It's very nice. But right in the middle of this piazza is the statue of a guy on a horse holding a sword. That is the site of a murder, a double murder, in Savage 3, which we covered on the podcast a couple of months ago. This is where they kill a prostitute and her pimp, and then they leave the body of the prostitute on the steps, and they hang him from the scaffolding above the statue. Makes me wonder whether the scaffolding was already there and the filmmakers just took advantage of that. It would seem a bit elaborate to put scaffolding up around this thing just for that, but there's no scaffolding now anyway. So here he is, right in the middle. I'm not even sure who he is, actually. Let's see if I can find out. That'd be some good bit of information, wouldn't it? I'm walking around to the front. It says Emanuele Filiberto Carelli, and then loads of stuff in Latin. So there you go. I'm not going to try and read that. So he's Emmanuel, not Emanuele. Emanuele Filiberto, whoever that is. I'm sure somebody can write in if they want to. It's a very nice, big, wide piazza with shops all round, and along one of the what are they called? Colonnades? I've forgotten the word. Anyway, there's lots of covered walkways and there's shops along those, and that's where they met the prostitute and then they killed her. Anyway, there's also loads of bookshops around there. Down one of these, I know there's bookshop. There's if anyone's ever seen Mother of Tears, which I had to admit I haven't, but I do know that there are scenes in a bookshop which was just along there as well. But I think half of Argento's films have been shot around here, so there's probably loads of bits, but I'm not going to try and point them all out because I'm only here for 2 days and I'll go mad trying to cover them all. I am going to try and find the house from Deep Red. That's the main one I'm going to go and look for tomorrow, probably. Last night I woke up and just couldn't get back to sleep. I think I was awake for about 2 hours. I don't know whether it's because it's too warm or because I'm not used to, because I miss my own bed or what. But anyway, so I put the TV on. I like putting foreign TV on wherever you are. It's always interesting. And I was skipping through the channels, and there was something that was clearly from the 90s. And it was some kind of weird game show / entertainment show with a couple hosting, a man and a woman hosting. And there were these loads of these dancing girls in the background that were all topless. And there was a band playing
like cheesy lounge music and like Frank Sinatra covers. And then there were contestants answering questions. One of them was asked questions where it was multiple choice, and the choices she could make were Anna Magnani or Gina Lollobrigida and a few other actresses. That was what I picked out. But and then she had to take her clothes off. It was really weird. It was like mainlining Silvio Berlusconi's imagination, or just it was like you were getting access to his brain in the 90s. It was really weird.
I forgot to mention, when I was flicking through the channels in the middle of the night, on one of the channels was, I think it was like Rye 2 or Rye 3, was Cat o' Nine Tails, Argento's movie, which seemed appropriate. I think that one was filmed here as well. But like I said, I'm not going to go looking for everything. Although I am already thinking maybe I should find the theatre where Deep Red started and all of that. But anyway, I'm looking for the Mole Antoniella, which is near here. Turin is so clean compared to Rome. Rome, I was just stepping around piles of rubbish absolutely everywhere. It was pretty grim actually. Plus just insanely hot. The temperature's about 10 degrees cooler here because there's a really nice breeze. Maybe it's coming off the Alps, I don't know. But I'm loving Turin already, just in comparison to Rome. Right, anyway, I think I'm close. Let's see if I can find it. Well, I'm inside the building. I've got to wear a mask, so I might sound a bit muffled. I don't know if you can hear, but there's Goblin in the background. Leon Hunt, the author of the new Mario Bava book, told me that Turin was his favourite Italian city, and I can totally see why now I'm here. I mean, it's quite industrial in some ways, but in lots of other ways it's really beautiful. And I've just come up, so I'm on the top of the tower on the Mole Antoniella, which I know I'm pronouncing wrong. So it's got this huge tower right up in the middle, and you can come up in a lift. And it's got an amazing view across the whole city, like 360 view around. And it's so cool. We've got all the Alps just right there. I can see the Alps right across the skyline, surrounding probably 2/3 of the city. And then on the other side are these rolling, beautiful green hills covered in trees and phone masts. So it's just, and then Turin in the middle, basically. And I can see quite a few domes of churches and things, but the streets are so clean compared to coming to Rome. Yeah, just being so close to the mountains and the hills, and I can see a river. It's really gorgeous. I can also see some really weird tall buildings. They look very out of place because there are not that many of them. So you've got these random really tall ugly buildings sticking up, which are very sort of noticeable. But anyway, yeah, it's really nice. I'm going to go back down the lift now. I've already had a glimpse of there's Argento stuff all the way around. So I'll take a few pictures, but I'm not going to take photos of everything because I don't want to ruin it for other people. And also that's just annoying, as I want to look at it too. But I'll give you a flavour of it as we go around. So I'm on the ground floor of the museum, and it's this big open atrium, and then there's a sort of staircase that goes up, and then it just kind of the walkway spirals round and round and round the outside of the atrium, and that's where all the Argento stuff is. But down here on the ground floor, they've got these really nice reclined seats with speakers built in, and there are two screens, one on each side, playing clips from Argento movies. There's people here with their kids. It's pretty funny. I'm not sure what they think their kids are going to get from coming here. There's quite an interesting exhibit on the history of cinema, so just been through all that. But now there's just the Argento stuff to go. So I'm just lying in one of these chairs and looking at all these clips and wondering what parents are telling their children. It's pretty cool so far, sort of walking round and round and round and round this gallery around the outside of the central museum. So you're just like walking along a long ramp past displays on all the films. I'm getting to the section now where there are films I haven't seen. There's one on Phantom of the Opera. We just walked past the display for the Stendhal Syndrome, which I have seen, and they have, I don't know whether it's a model or if it's the actual thing, but they've got a demon from the Stendhal Syndrome with an enormous erection. I will be sure to post you a photo of that, because I'm sure that's something you wouldn't want to miss. But yeah, we're on to stuff now like Sleepless, which I haven't seen, and The Card Player, and like the 2000s films are the ones that I haven't caught up with yet. Some may say I shouldn't bother, perhaps, which I don't know. I will eventually. I'm watching a really long interview with Argento, and I sort of came in part way through and watched it to the end, and now I'm back at the beginning working my way through, and I think I've been here about half an hour. I keep thinking it must be nearly finished, and then a new thing comes on. It's really interesting. It's a very recent interview, 2022, I think it was March, especially for this exhibit. There are snippets of it on YouTube, on the museum YouTube channel. So I'm watching this whilst the soundtrack music being played outside is trying to drown it all out. This interview is still going. I think I've been sitting here for an hour now. Other people keep coming in and then going out, and I'm pushing through. It's really interesting though. He's talking about Phantom of the Opera at the moment, which Rod just covered recently on The Bloody Pit, which is worth listening to. Rod would be very excited to know they've got the rat killing machine here in the museum. And that's pretty much it, except for the gift shop. I think that interview in the end was more than an hour. I started to get hungry and started eating some food. What's really cool is the way that the exhibition works is it takes you higher and higher and higher and higher up until you're basically in the roof. And so I've come out now and I'm walking down loads of spiral stairs to get back to the ground floor again, but we've got a pretty good view out the windows. Anyway, I'm not making this episode just to show off about my great trip, although I guess that's partly in there. But I hope it's been interesting for you to hear a little bit about what Italy has to offer. If you're a cult film fan, then you can come here and find all this cool stuff just kind of lying around. The Argento exhibit is on for, let's see, it's on till January next year. I'm just looking at a poster for it across the square here. Yeah, so you've got like a good 6 months to still come and check it out. If you're able to, definitely worth it. I mean, to be totally honest, a lot of the displays are boards with pictures on from the films, particularly the latter ones. There's not like some original old computer from Card Player, or there's not a lot of original props and things, but there are loads of cool posters, and there are props and costumes from some of the films. There's some costumes from Suspiria. They've got some costumes from Dracula 3D, which I still haven't seen, but I really want to, and I know that everyone says it's awful and it got laughed at Fright Fest, but I really want to see it. I'm going to add it to my list. I haven't seen Phantom of the Opera either, and that looked cool, the bits that I saw of it in the clips just now, and him talking about it and how proud he is of it. So I've got a few more films to fill some gaps, but it's just great to see this huge celebration of Argento. So even though some of it is just printed boards basically with pictures and text, the fact that the music is blaring the whole time, that there are clips showing on the screens, that Argento's face is everywhere, it's just really cool to be somewhere where he's like the prime focus, which you just doesn't really happen anywhere else, I suppose. So yeah, it's cool, and it's worth coming if you've got time to sit and watch that hour-long interview as well. But I'm going to hit the gift shop up. When the exhibit first opened, they had T-shirts, but sadly they've run out now. They haven't restocked. It looks like I noticed earlier. which is a little bit disappointing, but they have got a very nice exhibition catalogue, which is basically a massive book in English and Italian. So I'm going to definitely grab one of those and maybe a poster. But I'm running out of money, so I've got to be careful. But I'm going home tomorrow, so I guess I haven't got to be that careful. Anyway, thanks for listening. I think I'll sign off. So when this episode comes up at some point next week, I'll also tag a few of the pictures I've taken along the trip onto the tweet, so you can check those out on Twitter. The link is in the show notes. I think we're the Wild Wild Pod on Twitter, because Wild Wild Podcast was already taken, annoyingly, by somebody who doesn't even use it anymore. But what can you do? I could ask them, I suppose. It's too late now. Anyway, so yeah, check those out. Wow, this stairs go round and round for ages. Have a look at those if you want to see. Okay, so thanks for listening to my holiday/film conference rambles, and we will be back soon, hopefully, with a normal Polizia Teschi episode. Bye for now.